Why did Donald Trump not ultimately take the stand here?
Well, that's a very personal question to him and to me, honestly.
Almost as personal as Trump's favorite Bible verse, but Trump's lawyer, Todd Blanche, tried to do some damage control last night after Donald Trump was convicted on all 34 counts. So he went on Fox News, he went on CNN, and here's a clip of him getting grilled by Caitlin Collins about why Trump did not testify. Make sure you leave a like and watch this clip.
And it's a very difficult question. Of course he wanted to testify, and I don't say that because that's what he has said. He wanted to get his story out. I think the judge had made some decisions before the trial or the day of the trial started about what would be allowed to be asked of him by the prosecutors if he took the stand. And some of those questions were really complicated to answer because there's still appeals going on, and so there's a lot of decision points that go into whether somebody testifies. Ultimately, it's his decision, and he listened to us, and he relied on our counsel, and he reached a decision that he thought was right, which I very much agreed with.
So that means your counsel was for him to not take the stand.
I'm not going to tell you what my counsel was.
Well, you said he relied on counsel, and he went with that decision, and he didn't take the stand.
But ultimately, it was his decision, and I never say, and I think colleagues and folks that you have on here hopefully agree with me. I never say to somebody, "Don't take the stand," right? That's their decision, and that's a decision that they have to make. But I want them to have they want them to know what will happen on the good and the bad if they do take the stand.
So no regrets on him not taking the stand.
Look, the verdict came down a couple hours ago. I don't know if I have any regrets about anything yet. I'm still thinking things through, and I think so is he, and so are everybody else around him. But at this point, I don't think that there was a conviction because he did not take the stand.
Todd Blanche is really acting like a lawyer in this CNN interview, and I'm starting to see why they lost the case so badly. He's just not that savvy of a lawyer. I'm sure he's good in some respects, but even in this interview, he's giving lawyer-like answers, trying to snake around simple questions, and none of it quite holds together. You see how Caitlin Collins immediately poked a hole in his logic when he said Trump followed our counsel, and Caitlin Collins said, well, he followed your counsel and he didn't testify, so was your counsel not to testify? And Blanche was like, nope. Like, he got caught in the chain of logic so easily. But before I play this next clip, I want to point out that Donald Trump has been melting down. I'm following his text message threads because I go to his rallies. I need to know some of this information. And he has texted me like 7 times since he got convicted. Yesterday at 5 o'clock, he said, breaking from Trump. I was just convicted in a rigged trial. I'm a political prisoner. At an hour later, he says, from Trump, justice is dead in America. Our country has fallen. 10 minutes later, from Trump, pray for our country. The justice system is rigged. Last night at 8 o'clock, from Trump, never surrender. Stand with me against this injustice. Today at 8 in the morning, from Trump, the darkest day in American history. The jury just found me guilty. He is absolutely melting down. They are trying to fundraise off of this, but watch this clip of Caitlin Collins again grilling Todd Blanche on other witnesses they could have brought to the stand.
When he was leaving, one thing he brought up were the witnesses who were not called. And he was saying that there could have been witnesses that would have helped make the case. We never saw Keith Schiller, Alan Weisselberg, some key figures here who got brought up a lot. Why didn't the defense call any of these witnesses?
Well, because we happen to live in America, and we don't have the burden of proof. And so that's not the point. That's a question that is a loaded question that should not be asked of a defense attorney or a defendant. The question that we asked the jury, and they ultimately obviously got passed, is why the prosecution didn't call those witnesses, right? You, as a defense attorney, you don't go into a case saying, I'm going to fill the holes of the prosecution, right? And Keith Schiller and some of the other witnesses that were not ultimately called, in our view, should have been called by the prosecution, and we asked the jury to take a hard look at that. I don't know whether they did or not, but they convicted.
Todd Blanche.
So notice how Todd Blanche immediately got defensive and told Caitlin Collins, that's a loaded question. You shouldn't be asking me that. Ask the prosecution because the burden of proof is on them. And while he's correct, the burden of proof is on the prosecution, Caitlin Collins wasn't asking him to fill in the holes of the prosecution story. She was asking him why he didn't poke holes in the prosecution story by bringing their own witnesses. Todd Blanche's job was to disprove the narrative drawn up by the prosecution. The burden of proof wasn't on him. him, but he should have been trying to poke holes in the prosecution's argument, and the fact that he didn't call these other witnesses tells me he's not too confident they would have corroborated his side of the story. It's just more slippery lawyer talk from Todd Blanche, but watch this clip of Caitlin Collins asking him who was actually in control of the defense. Watch.
Moments, and I was in the court multiple times, where you would see you and Trump were often sitting next to each other, or the other attorneys, Emile Beauvais and Susan Nicholas. But Trump would, hit you on the arm, tap you on the arm, urge you to either object, or clearly was writing you notes and saying stuff. I mean, who ultimately was in charge of the defense strategy here? Was it you, or was it Donald Trump?
It was both of us. If there's a lawyer that comes in and says that they're in charge of their defense strategy, they're not doing a service to their client. Every decision that we made as a team, and not just President Trump and myself, but the whole team. And so, and again, every defendant, everybody who has their life on the line in history, will tap their lawyer every once in a while and say, hey, what about this? What about that? We not only did we get along during the trial, but we were on the same page about strategy and about what we should be doing and not doing. And it was, the one thing that I left with today is he impressed, hopefully, everybody that got to see what happened today, the way that he handled himself in the courtroom, hearing that 34 counts of guilty, the way that he handled himself really throughout the entire trial as somebody who is the Republican nominee, not campaigning, sitting in court all day. And I was right there with him the whole time, and I have no complaints about it.
But it did it.
Okay, a few things. So Todd Blanche implies that both he and Donald Trump had roughly equal control over the way the defense ran its arguments, but I'm not sure that's a good idea. Actually, I'm positive it's not a good idea. Trump is fueled by pure ego, and the lawyer should be in charge of developing and executing the legal strategies. That's probably why Donald Trump was convicted on all 34 counts. But it's fine for Donald Trump to give his input and for there to be mutual agreement when making these arguments, but at the end of the day, Blanche should be the one executing and developing these arguments. That is the job of the lawyer. Todd Blanche then says everybody should be proud of the way Donald Trump handled himself in courts, but that's not what the masses saw. All the masses saw was this deranged clip of Trump walking out of the courtroom, talking to the cameras and rambling about how he was just persecuted by Joe Biden, which is not backed up by any facts at all. So what the masses actually saw was Donald Trump get convicted, then go on this sweaty, incoherent rant about immigrants and Joe Biden, and I'm not sure that quite had the effect that Todd Blanche thinks it's had. Todd Blanche also went on Fox News right before this, and it was not any better. Watch this clip.
Would you have done anything differently? Is there a witness you said, oh, maybe I should have called that witness, maybe I should have done this?
Yeah, I don't know. I got to think about that, man. Like, we had a team. My team is amazing. The folks that work with us they're brilliant, and then the president has a team, and they're brilliant, and we all did the best that we could, and I wouldn't change anything that we did. Of course, I'm sure there's going to be folks that are on your show that take a different view, and maybe I will too at some point, but no, we did the best we could.
All right, well, Todd.
So if Todd Blanche is saying they did the best they possibly could, but Trump still got convicted on all counts, that means there was no reality in which Donald Trump did not get convicted. If they couldn't possibly do any better, that means in all the other realities, Donald Trump still gets convicted on all 34 counts. But if you enjoyed this video, make sure to leave a like, comment a blue heart if you got this far, hit that subscribe button, and have a great day yourself.